back on the Bison video blog with Jeff Kolpak. I'm Dom Izzo. Our newcomer list continues for 2016. For the second time this week, we're looking at wide receiver, and for the second time, a guy who had a tremendous spring, and that's Dallas Freeman from down in the Twin Cities, a guy who had a great spring, Jeff. He took advantage of a lot more reps due to the injuries at that spot, and what makes you think this guy could be a newcomer, a guy who could make a difference in 2016?
Every time I walked into the bubble a little toward the end of practice, this guy was making a play. He just was, and you hear about coaches raving about the guy. Some guys just sort of develop, and this guy came out of St. Michael, Albertville.
Coached by Jared Essler, former Bison great.
It was well coached in the system. I like his size. You look at him there, and he's what, 6'2", right?
He's 6 foot 196.
He looks bigger than that, though. But he's a rangy guy. But he just found a way to get open during, and that's against a pretty good Bison defense during practice.
Yep.
Apparently has pretty good hands. Didn't drop many passes, and it could get pretty clogged at wide receiver, wouldn't you say?
Well, that's what makes it really interesting that we have him on our list, considering the amount of guys that NDSU has back. But this is what makes, I think, spring football so interesting. When guys get hurt and other guys take advantage. We've seen it happen countless times where guys have had great springs and then launched them into really good seasons. And number 83 could be another example of that, just because he's filled with confidence. We visited with him after the spring game. He was smiling ear to ear. He thought he should have had another touchdown because he dropped one actually earlier in the green and gold game. That I think as long as he and Easton Stick can get on the same page, and they thought that's a big topic obviously for them this summer, that he could really take that to the next level in 2016.
The one question I have with all this is you talk about all the running backs the Bison have, and you have to wonder is there enough footballs to go around in the Bison backfield?
Exactly right.
And sometimes I wonder if this is going to be the case at wide receiver. Is there enough footballs to go around at wide receiver? Is there enough action for these guys to stay engaged? And that'll be a key too. You talk about team chemistry. If a guy goes 3 games with 2 catches, is he sulking or is he back there in practice? He's playing hard. I look at a guy like Dallas Freeman as a guy, I don't think he's a sulker.
I wouldn't see you'd see sulking out of that. Well, or you wonder, why can't he get open? We remember that with Zach Fry. He had a stretch remember, he only had 2 catches or 3 catches. What's going on with Fry? And, obviously he was probably receiving double team sometime during last season or the year before. That's what makes this really interesting for me, at least going into the next football season, is how are they going to, and we haven't even talked about tight ends, and they love to throw the ball to the tight ends of who's going to get the football, who's going to be the leading receiver on this team. That's what makes wondering how he fits into the mold here.
We can't answer. We're sitting here in June. We can't answer that question, and that question will only be answered on Saturdays.
It'll be fun to watch to see if Dallas Freeman can be a difference maker for the Bison at wide receiver in 2016. That's number 2. Come back tomorrow. We'll find out number 1 on our newcomer list for 2016.